going to have friction. And sometimes when we face those challenges in our life, we think, oh, I'm totally messing up and I'm not going where I want to go. But hey guys, welcome back to another mindset episode of Ask Me How I Know. I'm your host, Julie Holly, and I am so glad that you are here. If you have not already connected up with me on social, then please make sure you do. I love LinkedIn, that's my preferred, but I am also on Facebook. And if you haven't checked it out yet, Ask Me How I Know is actually a YouTube channel as well. I just really haven't broadcasted it out there, but there are almost 100 episodes of Ask Me How I Know that you can watch. You can actually see the interviews, or you can see my crazy antics and facial expressions that I'm a little bit known for in my circles. Some people say, yeah, Julie, your cover art, that's actually you. I'm pretty sure I just saw all those expressions in like a microsecond. So, anyhow, I would love for you to subscribe and help bump that channel up. And today I wanted to do something a little different, and I want to make this like a normal practice because you guys are my audience, and you're not just my audience. A lot of you are my friends, and we're growing together. And I'm so excited to share this journey with you. And so I wanted to take a moment to say thank you. I got this really fun review from Mike, and it says, Julie is amazing. Like, okay, what a way to start my day. Thanks, Mike. I love that header. And it's not because I'm being egotistical. It's just there's a lot of work and effort put in behind the scenes on a podcast, a lot of research, a lot of thought. And so, like, for someone to say, wow, you're amazing, it just, wow, totally wind in my sails. He says, an amazing host with a heart of gold to serve others, a very relatable, down to earth conversation. So thank you so much. If you have not already written a review and you just want to like totally pump up my day and put wind in my sails, I promise you, my family knows if I have a new review, they hear about it because it's so exciting to know that this podcast is serving you well and helping you. And I also want to add to that I want to hear from you. So you can drop me an email at askmehowiknowpodcast@gmail.com because I would love to know, what is it you want to know about? Like on these mindset episodes, what kind of content would serve you well? What are some challenges that you're trying to overcome? Don't worry, I will leave you anonymous. I won't go and put you out there if you're like, wow, I really need to help in this particular area. That's totally cool. It will help me create some content and do some research that will then serve you. How much of an awesome win is that? And remember, we're not really snowflakes, not too much. I mean, we are all unique and individuals, but the problems and the challenges that we face are really common to everybody. So if you're facing it, a challenge, or there's something that you just want to one up yourself on, then you're probably not alone. So shoot me that email. So it's just askmehowiknowpodcast@gmail.com. All right. Today we're talking about consistency. What is consistency? Let's just start there, right? Some synonyms for consistency would be steadfastness, regularity, stability, constantly, right? And so you're just being deliberate in doing something. I'm going to drop this right now because it's kind of a spoiler, but being consistent can sometimes feel so boring. We're going to talk about that in just a moment, but I just want to say that sometimes being consistent can make you feel like, as my husband will say, a fuddy duddy. And so just beware of that as we go into the concept of consistency. So, as I was thinking about consistency, I was thinking about my health and my fitness. And that's an area in my life that has been fairly, I would say, if you look at life, a life block, it's been the most constant thing. Aside from my faith, like my health and fitness has been something that has been very constant, something that I have really intentionally curated in my life. And the other day I was looking, and I mean, like, middle age is here, and I was looking, in the mirror, I'm like, wow, I got actually some muscles going on. That's like, this feels good. And I'm realizing that not everybody has that, but I pay a price for it, right? I've been the same size my entire life. And the price I pay is that I'm consistent. I go when I don't want to go. I show up at the gym, even if I'm tired, even if I am not feeling 100%, I might be feeling 50 or 40%. I'm probably still at the gym. I go. It's like this is what you do if you want the results you want, if you want to be healthy. If you don't know, I really take cardio to heart, literally no pun intended, but heart disease does run in my family. It's something I'm acutely aware of, and definitely makes me want to make sure that I am staying like super healthy and getting my cardio in and developing a strong heart muscle and everything. So um, let's yes, I do know diet, exercise, they all go together. So I should do better on the eating part, but I definitely have the exercise part down right. I've told my kids this many times. Our body is a walking billboard for our habits and what we are consistent with in life, right? So if I am overweight, then it's obvious that I am consistent about maybe a certain diet practice. Like diets don't just mean lose weight; it's just how you're choosing to eat. And so, if I am a certain size, then it's consistent. Like the message to the world is I'm consistently not eating well. I'm going to talk about some things in generalities, and I understand that I'm putting an asterisk before we even begin going down some of these paths that there are always in life, there are always the little exceptions to the rule. Okay. And so I'm not blanket stating everyone. I'm just saying these are things to definitely be thoughtful and aware of. And so I'm going to start by sharing just the concept I've always had in my mind that our exterior, our body, right? I don't think we should ever judge a book by its cover, but we live in Western civilization and that's what we do. And when you first look at somebody, you can see quickly what they are consistent with, right? You can see, oh, they probably consistently run with a certain circle of people because they dress a certain way. We could start there. Oh, we could also say, oh, well, they consistently go to the gym and work out because look, they look like they are healthy and fit. Their shape, their skin, their everything about them says, wow, I'm healthy. See, we're like these walking billboards. Our outside reflects what we are doing on a regular basis. And we could also say that if I'm overweight, that more than likely, because there are the asterisks out there, there are the people that don't fall into this category, but more than likely, if I'm overweight, it's because I am consistent with my dietary practices of overeating or over consuming the wrong foods, or consistent with avoiding physical exercise at all costs, right? There are people like it's painful. It's not always comfortable. Okay. So I get that. It's not fun. Sweating isn't always super fun for people. All right. So we can say that our consistency shows with our bodies, with our physiques, right? We could also say that our consistency shows with am I able to go and enjoy some of the hobbies and experiences that I want to enjoy? Or am I picking up a second, third, or fourth job? And I'm kind of giving some extremes there for a reason, right? So consistency shows in a variety of ways. We can be consistently going to bed at a reasonable time and getting all of our rest, or we could be consistently staying up late and waking up exhausted and not getting the rest that our body needs, right? We are consistent at something. You have a pattern, even if it's a pattern that's disruptive, you have a consistent pattern to how you go about doing things. But the question is, are you actually aware of what that pattern is? It's really challenging to move forward if we're too busy making excuses and we're not willing to actually evaluate and say, oh, yeah, I consistently act in this way. When this trigger happens, I do this. And that's really not a productive way of going about it. We have to have these conversations with ourselves and we really have to get to the nitty gritty. So here are 10 little steps that you can take to develop and cultivate some consistency in your life. Number one, commit. When we were talking about habits a month ago, we were talking about the necessity of having clarity. You need to understand what it is that you want to become consistent at in your life, and you need to understand why you want to become consistent with that, right? So, if I have clarity on something, for example, my son came in here today into my studio before I was recording, and it was really sweet. I love that he comes out to visit me, and it is an interruption, and sometimes I don't manage it well because I'm in the middle of a meeting. But he's also my son, and I really welcome that interruption because obviously it says, "Hey, I want to see you, mom." There's my sidebar. But when he came in here, he sat down on my little reading chair, and I said, "Hey, bud, we're talking," and I had to own something. I said, I'm noticing something in our that I'm doing, and it's not a pattern that I want to continue in my life. And I was honest with him. I said, here's the deal. I noticed that when you guys, meaning the kids, get louder, I get louder to go over you to silence it. I'm totally throwing myself under the bus. If you're a parent out there, you will probably, this will resonate with you, that sometimes it's like you're just maxed out, and you're maxed out on the noise, you're overstimulated, whatever it is, you're trying to concentrate. There's so many excuses, right, that we could put in there, and we don't always handle it well. So I looked at him and said, "Hey, I'm not handling this well. I noticed that, and it's been more recently that I've escalated this behavior, right? So a behavior will start out small and then it will grow. And unless you rip it out while it's small, a little tiny weed, it's going to grow into something, and you might not like what it grows into. So you want to be aware of what's going on in your life." So this has grown. It's not full grown, but it's definitely something that's escalated, and I owned it to him. I said, "Hey, I'm going to be working on it," right? So I have clarity. I want to have a healthy relationship with my son. I want to enjoy his company. And I realize that when people treat people in a certain way that is negative, that is going to be damaging to the relationship. So I'm identifying these different steps along the way, and I'm taking action. So I know why I'm doing it. I want to have a really good relationship. I know what I'm doing it. I'm really clear. I'm over escalating my voice. I am raising my voice way too much in order to get them to calm down and be quiet. It's so counterproductive, and it might shock some of you that that happens in my home, but I am a normal person and this happens in my home. So all that to say, maybe that's helpful for you. So the number one thing that you need to do if you want to find consistency is you must commit. And when you commit, you need to be clear about what you are committing to. Like, why do I need to do this? What is it I'm trying to accomplish? And you need to know why you are doing it, because that why always comes back when it gets difficult and challenging. That why is what's going to continually propel you, right? If you're an American or you're part of Western culture, then more than likely you already have a natural tendency to lean towards some level of chaos. Okay. There's actually this word for it. It's called reliably unpredictable. You see, we have figured out that being consistent, and we've labeled consistency with being boring and being dull, and it's just not as sexy as being wow and attention grabbing. And so sometimes we have this aversion, especially in our younger years, to wanting to lead a consistent life because it's just, wow, that's what fuddy duddies do. Like, where's the fun in that? Well, you know what, Karen? It sure isn't fun if you're not successful at the things you want to do. It's really important that you evaluate your life as you're trying to become consistent and decide, am I inviting any level of chaos into my life? Some people actually pursue the chaos. Are you pursuing the chaos? You might be pursuing the chaos through social media. You might be pursuing the chaos through gossiping with somebody about the latest on somebody because that just kind of juices you a little bit. You might be pursuing the chaos by allowing dysfunction to continue in relationships in your home or your work or your community. I'll tell you though, you can distance yourself from the chaos. And I will tell you, there have been a few different times in life that I have had to intentionally distance myself from chaos. And the rewards of taking that action, it is uncomfortable. So be advised, be forewarned, it's not comfortable as you are distancing yourself from chaos. And as you leave chaos, you put, in some cases, you're putting a target on your back. And because some people want to stay in their chaos and they want to keep everybody down in the muck with them. Okay. And if you are a rising star, you don't have any time to be spending down in the muck. Now, I am going to make sure that I remind you that that doesn't mean that you're not helping somebody, right? Remember, I have that belief that you're always reaching down and pulling someone up, and your other arm is always up and someone is pulling you up. Like we're always growing and learning, and we're always supporting others. Like it's a give and take along the way. But some people just want to live these chaotic lives and they're really just full of a ton of drama, and they're spinning their wheels. Okay, and you don't have to live that life. It will be uncomfortable, as I mentioned, but it is absolutely worth distancing yourself. And those distance, like as you do that, it doesn't have to be anything dramatic. I mean, our schedules can get really filled really fast with all sorts of things. And so those are comfortable ways to say, oh, well, you can just start limiting the time, the engagement. If it's something at work, you have work to do. So focus on your work and just become excellent and obsessed with creating the very best work that you could possibly create. Because guess what? You're going to find a lot of value and you're going to get some positive feedback from that. Now, guess what? Chaotic people, they're going to criticize you and they're going to try to pull you down because you're trying to change and become excellent and do really great work. Why would you let someone pull you down for that? Right? You want to go up in life. You want to become the next best version of yourself. So don't worry about what the naysayers are saying. Now, as a recovering people pleaser, for those of you who are also recovering people pleasers, then it's a little bit painful, but I promise you and I will assure you that you can do it and it is absolutely worth it. Also, keep in mind when it comes to that level of chaos, that chaos will sabotage your consistency. And I will tell you again from my own personal experience, the moments that I dipped back into something that is chaotic in my life, maybe a chaotic relationship, everything else starts to be like if you ever walk on a lake that has ice on it and things just feel unstable or starts to crack, that's how it is. Okay. So just be advised that any type of chaos is going to permeate your entire life and sabotage your efforts to become consistent. Number three is to lean into mindfulness. As I mentioned in the earlier with my son, right? I had a conversation with him this morning and I was very mindful. I'm mindful of my tone of voice. We actually call it TOV, tone of voice. Hey, check your TOV. Like I'm aware of my tone of voice. I'm aware of my attitude. I'm aware, like be hyper aware of how am I coming across in the situation? And just bring in all your senses. What am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I smelling? What am I feeling? What am I feeling with my hands? What am I feeling with my heart? Like in every sense of the way, become acutely aware of what is going on in your world. You're going to identify some pain points, and that will allow you to troubleshoot those and really feed into your ability to be consistent. If you haven't heard me say it already in previous episodes, number four is to create a reliable sleep pattern. Okay, I know. I did a whole thing on the subconscious mind. I've done some episodes where I've implored you, please get the sleep that you need. It's really important. Did you know that adults need 7 to 9 hours of rest? 7 to 9 hours. I guarantee that you are not doing it, but I want to encourage you. Part of being consistent is actually developing this consistent sleep routine that your body can predict, right? So our stomachs tell us when they're hungry, and we wake up, we eat, we have like food patterns that we go through, and that cycles our body in a really powerful way. But part of that cycle is to shut down and to rest. And while we're resting, our body is restoring and renewing and growing. Our body is hard at work while we are resting, and it needs its time to rest. Your sleep pattern, it should be so boring. Even on weekends, it makes me think of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop. He says, nights, holidays, weekends, right? Like your consistency in on your sleep routine should just, that's how it is. This is when I go to bed and this is when I wake up. It's really helpful to create a bedtime routine, and that helps your body start to unwind. So whatever your routine is, maybe you take a shower and have a cup of tea and brush your teeth and get in bed. Maybe you read before bed. Whatever routine that you can configure that helps you relax is going to start your brain already thinking about, as soon as you start that pattern, your brain knows, oh, here we go, we're into this pattern. Because remember, your subconscious is awake 24/7, hard at work, and it's telling you, oh, hey, this is what's happening, right? So the moment you put a piece of food in your mouth, instantly your digestive process begins. You start salivating, and your intestines start going through this whole process to prepare for that. Well, the same thing's true in all parts of our bodies. So if you are consistent with doing the same routine each evening before you go to bed, your body's going to pick up on that, and it's going to be easier to relax, easier to fall asleep. Now, for some of you self proclaimed night owls out there, because I know that you are out there. Like you just say, "Oh, Julia, I have to stay up late. That's just how my body is." Well, guess what? You can train your body to do something that is actually going to be healthier for you and impact your life in powerful ways. So, with that said, you might need to do some sleep training. And I spoke about that in Sleep in the Subconscious Mind in that episode. So, if you want to learn a little bit more about sleep training, go back and listen to that episode. Number 5, you have heard me say this so many times, press simple on life, right? A really important facet for being consistent is make it simple. I won't lie. This last weekend, I actually was contemplating this, and I hadn't written out this episode at the time, but I was trying to create some simple, streamlined systems to make, so that I could just plug and play. If you don't have to think about it, if you can just say, okay, I step on the conveyor belt here, and then these things happen, it is going to make things so much easier. I'll even show you. So I decided that when I publish a podcast, these are the steps I need to take. This is what I expect. I created a list because I don't want to have to rethink it every single time. And guess what? When you are constantly having to rethink something, then you are putting some gaps more than likely, or forgetting this part or that part, or maybe it's out of order. And so creating some type of consistent, simple routine will help you remain consistent. When I wake up in the morning, I have a very set routine. You've heard that one as well, but I don't know that I got into this part, but I know that when I wake up and I thank God for my day and for my breath, and give the day over to my Lord, I know that the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my phone. I don't get onto my phone. I grab it though, because I need it for my schedule. Grab my phone. I'm going to go, and I have like my little routine that I do that ends with brushing my teeth and walking out the door to the gym. And I don't have to think about it. It's such a simple routine that I don't need to think about it or deliberate on it. I don't have to sit there in bed and think like, oh, I don't want to wake up. Oh, do I have to go to the gym? No, it's just your body takes over and you just simply do it. Well, the same is true of your mind and with your work and with your responses to people, right? So we can train ourselves to become consistent in any area of our life that we would like to be consistent with. When I launched Ask Me How I Knew, when I launched Ask Me How I Know, I knew the number one thing I needed to do was be consistent. Well, and create quality content, but that consistent factor was imperative to the success of a podcast. And so I decided and determined the moment I made that decision. So I was clear on my decision. I knew why I wanted to do it. And I created a simple, this is what I'm committed to doing. I am going to produce a mindset episode. I am going to produce an interview, and I am going to do this every single week. And this is how things will roll out. That commitment, that determination, and also simple. I also knew that I couldn't do more than that. So I didn't overcommit, right? I know that my podcast is something that I want to have longevity with. So what you are committing to needs to be sustainable. It must be something that you can commit to and see, like, can I do this for the duration of time that I need to do it? So if you've ever run a marathon, half marathon, or trained for an event, you know there's a training process that goes through it. When I ran a half marathon, I think I did a 10-week training program leading up to that. And I looked at my schedule and I evaluated, do I have time for this? How am I going to fit all this in? And I kept in my mind, this is not forever. This is for 2.5 months. So keep in mind what you are committing to and keep it simple, keep it sustainable. I knew for 2.5 months I could sustain the level of training that I needed to be prepared for a half marathon. Now at this point, I don't know that I would commit to that same training program. Because I don't know that I could sustain that particular training program. Make sure that what you're committing to is something that you can actually commit to and sustain. As you're considering that, you need to think, am I over leveraged? What are some of the challenges that this is going to invite into my life? Is there a learning curve associated? What's the trickle effect on my other commitments? I will admit, y'all, I love to say yes. I love to be committed to things. I love to be part of things. And sometimes I realize that I said yes and I really can't commit to it. I did that recently. I seem to do this like every 3 months. I'll commit to something thinking, yeah, I can do that. And a few hours later, I look at my schedule and I realize I really can't commit to that. I really need to ensure for whatever it is that I'm committing to, they need to have the assurance that they have 100% of Julie available, right? They need 100, whatever you're committing to, they need 100% of you. So if you are committing to having really good family relationships and you're going to block off time for your family, that means that you're committed to that and you're going to be consistent to it, and your phone's going to be away, you're not going to be distracted, whatever that looks like, right? Whatever expectation you've created in your mind. Okay, the next one, I'm not going to lie, really set me back a lot. I think I would have gone a lot further, a lot faster in life if I did this very one thing. Value efficiency over creativity. It's really similar to being simple and sustainable. It has a lot of the same tenets to it, but you need to have something that is efficient more than it's creative. Here's an example of that. If I go to the gym and every time I go to the gym, I'm trying to learn a new uh, exercise because I just want to keep it spicy. I just want to keep it fun. I'm going to be spending so much of my time learning something new that I'm not going to be fluent at other exercises that are actually going to improve my health significantly. It's okay to bring in a new exercise, right? I'm actually going to be working with a trainer here soon just because I need to change up and work my muscles in a different way. I'm going to do that. It's intentional and purposeful. But if every single time you go into the gym and you're trying to switch it up, it's going to become very confusing and your creativity is going to actually thwart you from being able to charge ahead. Early in my writing career in my 20s, I really wanted to become a writer, but I wanted to do it on my terms. And instead of looking at people who are successful and being a part of a community, I was just going to be creative and figure it out myself. I could have potentially started something like Ask Me How I Know a whole like 15, 18 years ago if I had not been struggling with my little creative bent. So make sure that you are looking at things in a really realistic way, that you are being efficient with what you are doing and producing. The creativity has a time and a space, and it is necessary, absolutely necessary to be creative, but you need to not lose your efficiency and your productivity because you are leaning too much on your creativity. This very much blends right into the next one. And there are a lot of you out there that struggle with this. Say no to paralysis by analysis. All right. Nothing is going to cripple your consistency more than sitting there feeding your mind with more information and more data and learning more and more and more and more. You need to be applying. Okay. So yeah, you need to learn because you don't want to look like a fool, and you need to be credible, and you need to actually know what it is you're doing. I took an entire year simply to learn about apartment syndication and to practice that in my own life by investing with my own money before I decided to say, okay, now I'm ready to help other people take these steps on their own, right? So you want to make sure that, yes, you are learning, but your learning should be an active learning. It shouldn't be a constant learning and just letting it sit on a bookshelf. You need to be putting it into action along the way. Get the information that you need, whatever information it is, but don't spend all your time getting all that information. Get what you need and then spend the bulk of your energy on actually taking action and making things happen. You might think of it as a 30% on the learning side, 70% action. I would probably lean more towards the 20%, 20-80 rule. Okay, so figure out what you need and then just take charge and go for it. Number 8 goes back a little bit to sustainability. We need to create these routines that we can sustain, and we have to pace them out. Sometimes we get so into YOLO, that we forget that, oh wait, I might live to be, 95 years old. Like that's a long time on planet Earth, okay? So you need to pace yourself. You don't need to conquer everything in 1 year. You don't need to conquer everything in 1 month. It's going to be the consistent actions that you are taking that are going to show over time. So having those habits, having these consistent habits, and understanding my 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year goals, that's going to create this pace and a rhythm to life that doesn't feel overwhelming and thwarting, but will actually allow you that simplicity that you need in order to be consistent. Oh, this is all I need to do today. I'm totally going to give a plug right now to Brendan Burchard's planner. And this is the first time I've ever used a planner like this. And some of you have other planners. I know Darren Hardy has a really good planner. There are other planners that work really well for this as well. But I have broken down my goals and my plans for this year, and it was interesting because I am still new to implementing this system. As I was preparing for my week, I had to look back at, okay, what are my goals? Like, what are the bigger projects I'm trying to tackle? And just putting those into my week so that I know I have time where I'm pushing the ball forward, but I'm not trying to do it all at once. It's really liberating. And I wasn't expecting that, right? Remember, I focused more on creativity versus efficiency. And now you can see, like, oh, wow, I can accomplish so much more if I actually have a system that I can implement in simple ways, and I can make this progress along the way. Here's the deal for number 9. You are not ever going to implement any of this flawlessly. So accept and embrace right now progress over perfection. As I look back on the last year of this podcast, Ask Me How I Know, I had certain expectations and goals. And my number one goal was be consistent. But this year, going into 2021, I have some new expectations and new goals. You are going to have challenges. You are going to have some struggles. One of my friends and I were talking last week, actually having a text thread, and I sent a message, an excerpt from a book, because I knew it would support what he's thinking about right now and growing with. And we ended up having this thread about friction in life. And here's the deal: progress is definitely more important, and you're going to have friction. And sometimes when we face those challenges in our life, we think, oh, I'm totally messing up, and I'm not going where I want to go. But this analogy was so powerful. He said, do you ever see a car up in the air? And I'm thinking to myself, no, and I finish reading the text thread. No, car has to have the tires on the ground and the friction from the tires on the asphalt. That's what propels that car forward, right? So embrace it. You don't need to be perfect. You simply need to have your wheels on the ground and you need to be making progress forward. Okay. So if you have some elements of friction, if it's not coming out exactly as you want, that's not failure. That's part of the progress. That's part of the process of moving forward. Okay, the last one is so challenging for me. I've become a lot better at this over the last year and a half, but you have got to learn to say the big fat NO word, no. So if you watched Jim Carrey, Yes Man, I haven't watched it for years, but I remember watching that and thinking, yeah, I should say yes more. And I was very much a yes person. Now I am very much a no person. And it's not no because it's a critical or condemning no. It's just self-selecting. This isn't the best choice for me at this time. This will sabotage everything that I am working on to go forward. Okay. So saying no when you are trying to be consistent is going to be a really important word for you to become very comfortable saying and using to keep you focused. If you're listening to this and you are wanting to become more consistent and you want to implement these type of things in your life, or better sleep habits, or putting your subconscious to mind, or whatever it is that you want to implement, it is going to come with some pain points. And along those, when you experience those pain points, it's very important that you are kind to yourself. I want you to think, how would I talk to my friend? If my friend were experiencing this, if my child were experiencing this, if my partner were experiencing this, how would I speak to them? How would I encourage that person to endure? Because I know where they want to go and I want to support and encourage them. Okay, that is exactly how you need to be speaking to yourself. Okay, too often we have a lot of negative self-talk, and we, for whatever reason, we beat ourselves up because we took a little sidestep and we needed to correct, and we made the correction, and then we beat ourselves up for taking that sidestep. So I want to highly encourage you, as you're going through this process of becoming more consistent, remember, be very, very kind to yourself. That's what I have for you today. I hope that you take it to heart. I hope that you share this episode with someone else who also wants to up their game in life and become just a solid, consistent person. I want to give you a heads up. I'm going to be hosting a webinar, and the webinar is actually going to be on passive investing. And if that's something that you're interested in, I'd love for you to just shoot me an email at askmehowiknowpodcast@gmail.com. Shoot me that email. Just say, hey, Julie, I'm interested in this. I haven't released the date yet. I know that it is going to be in about 2 weeks. I haven't decided on the firm date yet. But anyhow, it's going to be exciting and it's interactive, and I want to get to know you. Also, please remember, I do want to get to know you. I want to know what's helping you. What is the wind in your sails, and what are some areas that are holding you back that you would like some more support with? So again, shoot me an email at askmehowiknowpodcast@gmail.com, and let's have that conversation. Until next time, please remember, one step. You just need to take one step, and you are one step closer to finding the freedom that you are looking for. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Ask Me How I Know. This episode was brought to you by 3 Keys Investments. They are dedicated to helping people like you, you, my awesome listeners, develop passive income and legacy wealth through multifamily investing. Feel free to check out their website, 3keysinvestments.com, to see if there's an offering that will help your portfolio grow and meet all of your needs. If you haven't already rated, reviewed, subscribed, liked, all of those bells and whistles, I would be absolutely honored if you would do that for Ask Me How I Know. Thanks again, and go make it a great day.